It really doesn't matter how much you make, right? It's how much you get to keep. So one of the biggest stresses I see is people don't have a plan. We get paid on the 1st and the 15th, the money comes in, the money goes out, we're swiping the card, and we don't know where the money's going. And then all of a sudden, we transfer, we PCS, we think everything's taken care of, our pay gets ruined, or we have to do pay for TLA out for 10-day increments, and we don't have the money to do that.
Well, hello Sasebo, and hello Navy Region Japan. This is Chaplain Lawrence again with another episode of Taps with Chaps. Today, continuing our conversation on resiliency, we have a special guest with us. I want to welcome Norman Okada, who's an accredited financial specialist with Fleet and Family Services here in Sasebo, Japan. So welcome to the show,
I'm glad to be here, sir.
Just starting off very casual, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
Okay. All right, so I have 36 years around the United States Navy, 24 as an active duty member, and 12 as a retiree. I was a fire controlman on submarines. The last couple of years, I've worked at Fleet and Family Support Center. Basically, I started out in doing stress and anger management, and then I transitioned over to the financial world, which is a very enjoyable job.
Oh, good. And I know we work together often, like with the AOB, and you give your financial brief to all the new sailors.
Yes, sir.
And when we talk about resiliency, and at least like. In my world, we see resiliency a lot, but what does resiliency mean to you kind of in the financial world? What does that picture look like?
Resiliency means to me that if you have a big ticket item, something happens to you, like your pay gets cut off or your house payment, something happens to your house, that you have the ability to come up with the funds to take care of it. Especially the PCSing is a big one. We see that a lot of folks get in trouble doing that. So it's just basically handling your finances to the fact that if something does happen, you don't have to dip into your credit cards or go into bankruptcy or anything like that. And
PCS is great. I mean, we're just about to enter into a big PCS shift here with people coming to Japan, people leaving Japan, because that's all been on hold for a few months, so we're about to see a lot of moving parts there. But I often see, like when I'm counseling, especially married couples, the second leading cause for difficulties within that relationship tends to be around money and finances. It can be a really big stressor. What are some of the stressors that you see? What are some of the contributing factors to stressors that degrade resiliency, both in our sailors and in our family? Okay,
so first of all, at Fleet Family, AOB ICR, I tell them my story about being broke as a chief petty officer. So it really doesn't matter how much you make, right? It's how much you get to keep. So one of the biggest stresses I see is people don't have a plan. We get paid on the 1st and the 15th, the money comes in, the money goes out, we're swiping the card, and we don't know where the money's going. And then all of a sudden, we transfer, we PCS, we think everything's taken care of, our pay gets ruined, or we have to do pay for TLA out for 10-day increments, and we don't have the money to do that, right? So basically, the biggest thing I try to do in my job is tell people to have a spending plan. Talk about, the other thing you talk about marriage is let's talk about our finances. I'm big into financial date nights. Let's get together, this is where we're at, these are the goals we have, and this is how we work towards them.
Yeah, I think that's great. That part of that communication, because communication tends to be the number one issue, right. But part of that communication is let's sit down and talk about what are we spending our money on, right. What are we going to spend our money on in the future? What do we need to save for? What are our goals? Big acquisitions that are coming up.
We also have the knowledge of the fact that our spouses may see money differently based on the backgrounds where we came from. Some people, like my wife, came from a background where they didn't make financial decisions unless they talked about them. They didn't buy things unless they had the money. And I came from a background where let's buy it now and let's figure it out later, right? So how do we talk about those stresses when it comes to money?
Yeah, that's a really good point too, is what are our backgrounds? What are we bringing to the table, so to speak? What is a common issue or concern that you maybe see, especially with like sailors, single sailors? Because we talked a little bit about families and married couples, but what about that single sailor out there, that brand new E4 now that's got that chevron that's making a little bit more money?
I think the biggest thing with the single sailors is that basically, so they either came out of high school, they never had to manage money, they never had to manage a checking account or a credit card, and now they have more money to buy the things that they want, right? And so how to balance today, which which is saving and getting the things that you want, how to balance tomorrow, which is investing for the future. We give them TSP, but a lot of times they're not educated in investing on how to make that work for them. And so the biggest thing with the junior sales is to say, yes, you can have this today, and you can do the things you want, right, and still manage that. Tattoos are a big one. I don't tell folks, I have 6 tattoos. I don't tell people not to get tattoos, do coffee, or go eat Chili's. What I tell them is basically set up a tattoo account. Say Norm's tattoo account. Every month, put money into Norm's tattoo account, and when you want to get a tattoo, go get a tattoo, right? Don't go broke for tattoos.
Yeah, that's sound advice. If there's something that you want that is going to cost a little money, right, put money towards it.
Automatic savings is a big one too. Make the money go away before you see it, because we spend what we see. So if an E3, a lot of times we have lifestyle creep. An E3, if the stuff he couldn't get as an E3, when he makes E4, he wants to get them. But if he tries to take some of that money back and still maintains a lower spending lifestyle, he'll be okay.
I remember one of the tips that stuck with me from AOB was your comment about keeping cash versus using a card.
Yes, definitely.
What's that about?
I know now it's kind of different with the COVID, right? But what happens is I tend to, a lot of times if we use the card, we don't see the money physically going away. And so I always make the analogy, if I go to Taco Bell and I go up to the window, if I use my credit card or debit card, I don't even know how much I spent. I just say, give me. I used to stop at the ATM, pull out $20, and even if I know I'm going to get it, it forces me to look at the price. It forces me to see how much money I want to spend. And so that's a really, really big one. Some people tell me that they're better off with cards than with dollars. So you have to find an even balance for yourself, what works for you. Yeah. Yep. And you talk about with cash. Let's put this towards in there. Yeah. With cash, we also talk about the wallet or the envelope method. You say this payday, I want to take this much money. You put an envelope, and then you spend out of the envelope. And when the money's gone, you don't hit your savings account.
That's a good idea. So, switching tacks a little bit from like junior sailors to what about more your mid-level senior leadership sailors, your E6 and above, who maybe are at the 14, 15, 16-year mark, inching closer to retirement-ish?
To be honest with you, sir, those are the people who I think we have the most problems with, because we've got hooked on a lifestyle. At 13 years, I was broke. I tell the part about my car getting repossessed and my phone getting cut off, because we feel we're going to be in the Navy for a long time. We're accustomed to these things that we get for free. One of the turning points in my life was transition from the military. I was unemployed for 8 months, and then where I went from having about a $4,000 paycheck, rent paid my OHA paying my rent and all of my utilities and everything paid, to working at the commissary and $1,200 every 2 paycheck with the same family, having to pay rent out of that. Currently, I pay $900 a month for health insurance. And so a lot of those guys, they're not prepared to transition. So what I try to have them say, okay, this is what you make now, right? How do you prepare for that life after the Navy by taking some of it and putting it away for the future?
Yeah, that's really good advice. It's never too late to start,
right?
But start now.
Exactly, exactly. And the best time to start is today. The best time to start would have been in the past, but the better time is the next best time is today.
Yeah, good call. What are some of the resources? Like if sailors need financial help or they're struggling financially, what do we have as a Navy to offer to them for help?
Okay, so we have Navy Marine Corps Relief, also does budgets. In addition, a lot of people misconceive them as only giving away free money or whatever, but they do budgets. You can come talk to me. We'll sit down and do a budget. We'll come up with a plan. I do couples, singles, whoever. And also our financial institutions, I think they're one of the most overlooked. One of the things I find out about service members, no matter where they're at in their career, is that they don't understand the differences of the accounts, whether it be a money market savings or a CD or your TSP. And so hopefully the financial institutions that we have on base help you sit down with you and say, what's the best account for you for what your goals are?
Yeah, that's excellent. And of course, always if they can reach out to their chain of command too, right. If there's a particular financial issue or stressor, go through your chain of command. They're going to put you in touch with maybe some of those resources.
And also each command has a command financial specialist that's there. They work with me, through me, and that can also help them getting started.
Yeah. What do you see as like the things that that specifically in the financial world degrade from resilience, and what are the things that build resilience back up?
Oh, great question. So one of the things I think that degrade from resilience is the fact that living for today. A lot of folks, what we're finding out now with the COVID virus is that 33 million Americans got laid off, and a lot of them were not prepared, right? So basically having living into today, vice tomorrow. So one of the things that raised resilience, like I have folks that come to me and they said, I PCS, I had $20,000 in my account, I had to take 10,000 out, and I always say to them, at least you had 10,000 to take out of account. So basically saying that I have an account, I have an emergency savings, so if something does happen to me that that's unexpected, I can overcome that challenge.
Yeah. Have you seen or experienced anything in the past few months with regards to COVID-19, how that has changed the discussion or changed the dynamics of finances for sailors and families?
Definitely. I have a lot of folks coming in. So after this got lifted, that people can come back and see me, and even on social media, I have a lot of folks coming in and talking about budgets where a lot of people weren't doing it before. So I have people who are transitioning who want to get a plan before they transition. I have people who are even staying here and say, hey, I'm at a point right now, all this stuff is going on, and maybe it's a good time to get started, even if I didn't get started before.
And I know you mentioned too, like especially the job markets and so forth. If you're either retiring from the military or you're transitioning out of the military, the economy and the job market looks very different today than it did 6 months ago.
Exactly. And so one of the things we do for them is we have a comparison. We'll say, okay, this is how much you're making today. This is how much the average person makes out there, right? And here goes all the expenses they have, and they can use that as a guide point. Also, online, the Navy has a tool. It's called the compensation calculator. They can go online, they can put in their rank and all the specifics, and it'll give them basically a guideline of what they have to make in the civilian sector to make up what they're making now.
And I think it also probably gives them a good sense of, what is my self-worth? What is the Navy given me in terms of training and education and so forth to prepare me to go into the workplace or the workforce? I think that's great. Anything else you want to share with us?
Yes, definitely. I always say the name for 20 years, 30 years, you always have to be prepared to leave. And we work daggone hard. I came in the Navy at a 20-year-old after dropping out of 3 colleges. So make sure you are getting what you're coming for, even whether you stay, whether it be the education or the financial resources. And go talk to the people, especially with TSP. Young folks, I am so jealous because time is your greatest asset.
Yeah, I think that's great too. If the young sailors who are brand new can go to some of the more senior sailors and say, hey, give me some lessons learned here. What do you wish you would have done that you didn't?
I think that's the greatest question.
That I can do, starting my career fresh, getting it off on the right foot.
Right. What mistakes did you make that you don't want me to make?
Yeah, exactly. So, Norma, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing with us about finances and how those can be a stressor to us and to our families, whether we're a single sailor, a junior sailor, a senior sailor, married sailor. Finances are so critical to how we as a force respond to our personal lives, our domestic lives, and if we can take care of that, that's one less stressor that we have added on to the rest of our life. So thank you for your wisdom and your advice, Norm.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to all of you, the sailors and families of 7th Fleet AOR. This is Chaplain Lawrence signing off. We'll see you next week. Take care.